Hey, folks, thanks for joining. We're here again with another Zoom meeting, and I'm really excited about this one because I'm not the one who's going to be doing all the talking. Today, we are very lucky, fortunate, um honored, blessed, really, to have Rachael Martinez here with us. And I want to do just a quick little intro on Rachael, and then maybe Rachael, you talk a little bit about yourself, and then we keep going, and I'll talk about why we're doing this. Okay, but first off, uh, Rachael was one of my early students back in the day when I taught at the San Francisco School of Massage in the Marina, and I absolutely truthfully, honestly saw your potential very early on to be a star, a superstar body worker, just the way you were working. And I remember uh, uh, in my mind vividly, you're kind of petite, right? You're not really tall or anything, and you were just doing some fantastic body mechanics, fantastic deep tissue on this wall of a guy. I forgot his name, but he was on the table, and I would just remember like seeing you just really dialing it in and doing it just the right way. And I thought, yes, she's got it. She knows what she's doing. So it was really cool to see you early on do that, and then progress into your practice. So I've known you all these years, and kept an eye on your growth and progress, and it's really nice and heartwarming to see you, you know, become that superstar body worker that I knew you could be. So that's my brief intro. But please, Rachael, if you have anything to add, tell us a little bit about yourself um, before we move on.
Sure. And thank you for that introduction. I've made a career out of working on big walls of men. It brings me great joy to work on all of my clients. So I have a practice with in San Francisco with two locations, and I've been running the first location since around 2014, and then got the second location, let's see, about 2 years ago. So independent partially since 2014, and then went full on 2 years ago.
So full on self employed on your own um, for a few years now.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. And so this is what I wanted to kind of talk about today. And this is what I wanted to cover today. And that is that you've heard it from me, and you hear it ad nauseum, what I've done to have a successful practice, my trials and errors, my the pitfalls, and all of these things, the peaks and valleys of running a practice. And that's cool, and I think that a lot of you get benefit from it. Um, but I feel that sometimes it's necessary for you, the practitioner out there, to not hear it from me. And that's why we got Rachael here. I think it's very necessary also for you to hear it from someone else, especially someone who's been able to successfully navigate, have a successful practice, and also successfully navigate this year. And this year has been a really trying year for a lot of people. A lot of people just stopped practicing, and I think some of you are probably also thinking, how am I going to do this in this, pandemic world? So this is why we've got Rachael here. Rachael and I have spent several hours talking on the phone, and I've gotten to hear her story and what she's been uh, doing, and what she's learned in this pandemic world. And I thought this would be really cool for Rachael to share with all of you, so that you don't necessarily hear it from me, so you don't think, oh, here's Marty again with another one of his stories. Uh, Instead, you hear it from someone else who's been able to make it work, right? So that's why we got Rachael here. Um, So, Rachel, I know I have some questions for you.
Sure.
Uh, and I know we talked about this a little bit. And my first question for you is like, as you were kind of having to figure out this year, as you were thinking, oh, this year is going to be unlike any other year. Can you tell me what was one of your biggest realizations? What was one of your big kind of eye openers early on, as you realized this year was not going to be like previous years?
Well, starting March 16th, is
Yeah,
that what you're referring to?
yeah,
Yeah, that was the day of the shelter in place was announced, by the way. That I thought that I might be in deep crap, but then we had to wait a little bit. We had to wait for the laws to be passed and to hear about being able to access unemployment insurance as self employed people, because usually we can't. But as soon as those, and then there's the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, also for small businesses and self employed people. And I just waited for those applications to open. And then when I already had the paperwork, I was like, this is going to be easy. It's just copy and fill in the things from my my tax papers. So just knowing that I filed my taxes, that was pretty much a big thing. And when this happened, some people hadn't even filed their taxes, which is understandable because it was March and taxes aren't due until April 15th. So I'm glad I got that out of the way as soon as humanly possible.
right, right. I actually had not filed at that point.
Oh,
Uh,
there you go.
yeah, I had not filed. I didn't even have the semblance of anything put together. So I actually had to scramble and put something together in order to uh, uh, get into that system. That pandemic relief system is what I'm going to call it. So, so that already kind of says a lot, though, Rachel, that you had your taxes, they were filed, they were ready, and that made everything a
Yeah.
little bit more streamlined. So, that's kind of a big lesson for all of us, that you were working within the system. And because
Yes.
you were working within the system, it made things a lot easier for you.
Yes. uh, Working within the system. And then nothing too crazy. I was just a sole proprietor,
Right.
and that's doesn't cost any extra money. It just requires you to file your make estimated tax payments throughout the previous year, and then just file your taxes.
So here's another thing, and here's Marty with his gripe. So please allow Marty to gripe or rant for just. I'll give myself 30 seconds, okay?
All right.
When I say when I say things like this, and I try to give out business lessons. One of the common responses that I get, maybe not an excuse, but a common response that I get is, "Oh, Marty, yeah, but you know how to do these things. You got your MBA and you have a business background, but I don't have a business background." That's a common response I get. And it's not just in the United States. This is all over the world. This is the common response I get. And so now I'm asking you, Rachel, do you have a business background? Do you have an MBA?
I do not.
You do not. So
Yeah, I have no business background.
so all of these things that you had to learn came from what? How did you didn't hatch knowing all of this, how to run your own business, right?
No, of course not. It requires, if you really want to be a above ground business owner, it requires a little bit of a time investment, not necessarily money investment. I had a great mentor in Jody Waring. Shout out to Jody. Asked her a lot of questions to get started on an independent business. I used to work for a CPA. Again, I have no business background. It's just working as an assistant for a certified public accountant. And getting some knowledge in that way about what kind of things, what kind of tax laws there are, and what businesses require. And then um, a lot of research going on my favorite website of all, irs.gov. So that's super accessible for everyone. It's
Wow.
just
Okay.
researching, a lot of researching.
Right. Right. So you didn't magically know this knowledge, and here I'm going to say this, okay? No offense to you or anyone, but it doesn't. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this stuff and learn this stuff, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah. You just have to want to follow the IRS guidelines, which is what I wanted to do from the start as soon as I started an independent business.
Right, right. And the other thing is sometimes I'm not aware of my. I don't. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm very math proficient. I don't really think I'm math proficient. My my experience in high school calculus and trigonometry really humbled me, so I don't think I'm really that great. But then I look, I look at myself doing calculations just in my head and compare to how other people do it, and I'm realizing, oh wow, okay, so I guess I'm not bottom rung of the ladder as far as being able to do math in my head. And some people will say this. Some people will also say to me, "Well, Marty, I'm not really that good at numbers. I hate math, right? I hate math. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, I hate math. So for those who, I never really asked you, Rachel, do you like numbers? Do you like math? Do you like doing all that stuff?
I actually do.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
But
Well,
yeah, I could talk about it anyways.
but
Like,
what I was trying to get at was, for those people who say they hate math and like, I don't want to do this stuff, and as soon as I see a number on a piece of paper, I start to have this gag reflex or something. um, we can we can we can learn if we want, but we can also hire people to help us with these type of things, right?
exactly.
And this is what you did as well. Although you love irs.gov, the website, you also did
Yeah.
hire either bookkeepers or tax accountants to help you with this, right?
Yes.
So
Um,
go ahead.
I know people who they're just not into the numbers at all. So they hired a bookkeeper, and this is pretty much like, I'm going to give you all my receipts. You take care of this, do the math. I'll give you my expenses, and take care of it. And then they send all of their profits, which you can generate reports on your credit card processor, like it would be Square or PayPal or Venmo. Just get like a summary of the past year and then pass that on to them. I personally do my own bookkeeping. I actually enjoy it. I do like the numbers, but even then, that's like doing the math. That's like you can do that in Excel. Just write a long list of all your expenses and then have it added up automatically throughout the year. And then, but I did hire a certified public accountant to take care of my taxes, because that aspect, I was like, I don't even want to look at it. It's like 12 pages of stuff. So
Right.
that's a lot, but it's like you can outsource this so you could just do what you love and be a massage therapist for sure.
Right, right. And what about for the person, the practitioner out there who says, "Oh, oh no, I don't want to hire a tax accountant. Those people are expensive. Those people are scary expensive." And yes, some of us may have maybe more complicated situations where we do end up having more complicated tax returns, but a self-employed tax return is not really that complex. um, what would you say to the person who thinks that a CPA is very pricey, to like out of their reach?
I did get a little sticker shock at first,
Yeah.
but it was an investment. We'll start right for this year and work our way back a little bit. So for this year, having all the paperwork that my accountant generated for me, it made it super easy to just plug those numbers in to the PPP application, to unemployment insurance. And if they needed proof, then I could copy those papers and then just send it over. But I was already in with the IRS. So all my paperwork was done so that I got my loan, I got my unemployment insurance like in a day, in 24 hours. No issues at all.
And
So it's worth the investment.
that's super fast. That's probably the fastest turnaround I've ever I've ever seen or heard of. In faster than my turnaround. My turnaround was about less than a week.
That's pretty good
Um,
still.
I guess so. But the moral of this story is that a lot of people were not able to do this. A lot of people who are in our situation, kind of in a situation effectively. They work for themselves, they have their own practice, maybe they teach, all of these things. They were not able to get the relief that they deserved
Mhm.
because they did not do that work pre-pandemic. And what I mean by that is they they did not essentially work within the system in order to be able to, I guess, respond to what the system needed of them during the pandemic time.
Mhm.
I would say my opinion would be that this everything that you were doing kind of led to your success within this pandemic time. And of course,
Yes.
yeah, and of course, no one really saw this coming, right? No one here saw this coming. However, um, running your business, the more you run your business, the more you really understand that in order to have it grow or have it be successful, you do have to work within the system.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point. Like this has never happened in our lifetimes. So I think people might be asking, well, why should I be in the system now? But I just want to touch on how it's benefited me before this pandemic. So, because I'm in the system, I have access to credit lines now through my business. So it could be separate from my personal expenses. So, having that, like, for example, I can pay taxes, but then I have like 2 months to pay it off. For like a business account, that would be called like working capital. So you just have a little bit more time to hang on to your liquid money and invest it in stuff that you need right now, like paying rent on your offices, or just having a little bit more flexibility with your income. And then that was like interest free, and yeah, I had 2 months to pay it back. So that's been very helpful.
Right, absolutely. And yeah, this is another thing that once some people may not realize that starting your own business really creates this whole other separate entity, separate from your own personal self. And this
Yes.
own separate entity can then acquire credit and acquire credit history separate from yourself. That would help you to build your business. Um, and and in your case, you are not incorporated, but you will be incorporating soon, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I still separated everything out as a sole proprietor, but I'm kind of seeing the benefits of maybe moving forward with like an S corp or an LLC. I
Right.
know that's a whole another can of worms, but I do
Right.
want to move in that direction.
Yes. Yes. Which I highly recommend for any practitioner who's been in this business for a bit and now who's at a point where they are acquiring assets, that it's to their benefit to protect, personal assets, separate themselves from their business and incorporate at some level. So in my case, same thing, just like you, Rachel. The incorporating just basically creates this whole separate entity that now is something that we can grow, that can acquire financing in order to grow, which is great because it now separates the personal piece from the business piece. And a lot of people may not really understand that. A lot of people may not really be um, what's the word? May not necessarily see the benefit of that. And it's not just a benefit that shows up during pandemic time. It's a benefit that shows up, when you're starting to grow and you want to reach certain goals, buying a car, buying a house, those type of things. Growing your business in this way can be hugely beneficial.
Yeah. Another benefit that I got from being above ground financially and having access to working capital was I got to open my second location. So that was pretty much you need quite a bit of money to it's quite the investment to get your own like table and all of your own equipment. I wanted a hydraulic table, so that was a little bit of an investment and just yeah, having that extra credit to pay for everything and then not be in such a debt or not have a lot of liquid money left. Yeah, that was super helpful. And it's like, oh, now I can work in my office and catch up and then pay it off. So that was, yeah, as you were talking about, how does that help? And I think it helps as far as your own business growth.
Right, right. This is great, Rachel. I'm really happy that people are hearing it from you, as opposed to just me. I think it carries so much more weight when they see someone who has gone through it and has grown from it and has had a successful practice and it was able to navigate these pandemic waters. Um, I kind of touched upon this before, but the number of people who have stopped practicing, who have stopped doing body work during this year is pretty concerning, to me. And you would think that someone like me would say, "Oh, great, less practitioners, more clients for me." But that's not the way it works. I can only work on so many people. We can only work on so many people.
Yeah.
And there are uh, uh, so many more clients that are going to be left untreated, left without getting proper body work, and that are now unfortunately going to go through their own struggles with this and dealing with their own healthcare. So to me it's kind of concerning, and part of the reason why I want to do this. So we've kind of gone into some of these topics, Rachel, but I would like to kind of list them out, okay, so that people get a definite list of this kind of recipe, so to speak, for success as a practitioner. So I kind of been writing these down a little bit, kind of list of Rachel's greatest hits, um, and in no particular order here. First one was hire a tax accountant, or hire someone that can help you if you're not into this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have Caroline here as well, and Caroline as the marketing manager of Morales Method. I've also seen her kind of grow through this process of having her own practice, her own consulting practice, and her telling me, "Oh, I'm spending today going through my receipts and all of that," and I think that's great, good for you. But anyway, hire a tax consultant, and then we kind of touched on this a little bit, pay your taxes.
Yes.
Um, and this is going to sound counterintuitive to some of you, but I would say if you're seeking a particular goal, buying a car or buying a house,
Yes.
you may want to pay. Well, you know what I'm going to. You know what I'm going to.
I know where you're going.
If you have a particular goal, you may want to pay more taxes.
Hmm.
And people are going to freak out about that. Like, what? What do you mean I should pay more taxes? Well, uh, um, your tax accountant, talk to your tax accountant first of all and figure this out. But you may want to pay more taxes for a certain amount of time in order to show, a higher net income. And what I mean by that is you're essentially not going to report all your expenses, right? Um, to show a higher net income. And of course, I can't give you financial advice over Zoom. You're going to have to talk to your tax accountant about this stuff. But at least pay your taxes. You're going to need to show some type of successful history there. Um, we didn't touch upon this at all yet, Rachel, but one of the things that I believe is an indicator of success is how a self-employed person can also save for a rainy day, save for retirement, and
Yes.
this is something that you have also kind of gone through and learned. And
Mhm.
you were telling me you have your own retirement account, retirement plan that you that I believe is very successful in the sense that you're actually being able to put money away, right?
Mhm. Yes. So I know it's hard at first to part with your hard-earned money and give it to the government, but to offset that, I was like looking and researching, and then I found an SEP IRA. So that's um, what is it? I forgot what it means, but it's something employee pension, and then
Mhm.
the IRA is the retirement account. Um, So for that, like if you work at a big company, they just take care of all that for you. You just sign up, but it's like, I want that too. So you would just sign up for it for yourself. A lot of them are free, and then a lot of them could even just completely manage your investments for you so that you don't even have to look at it. It's not that much of an effort. You just need to sign up. So I don't want to part with my hard earned money. Not yet, anyways. You'll still have to pay taxes when you start withdrawing from it. But again, I found this on my own. Investment companies, Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Merrill Lynch, look those up. You can definitely get your own retirement account as a self employed person. So that's what I did. Nothing too crazy.
Mhm, mhm. I still lament. That's one of the probably the only thing that I still kind of miss from my corporate days is that corporate matching, you
I
know?
miss I never missed it. I never got it, but I would miss it too. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I still do miss. I wish I had it, but oh well. It is what it is. Okay, great. You're even at the point where you can save for retirement, which is fantastic. That's amazing. I don't know what the statistic is out there, but it's actually kind of horrifying how many people do not have a retirement account, do not have savings. Um, and if we could just do a paradigm shift of this, I guess, a national mindset over to that, who knows what would happen. We might be in a different situation. Um, and I would say, so we talked about retirement, and then we really kind of talked about how you created the structure that the system recognized, and during pandemic you were able to navigate these pandemic waters, at least I should say first wave of the pandemic. You were able to navigate these pandemic waters quite successfully, I would say.
I
So
hope so.
yeah, I would say for sure, quite successfully. So now that we have that list, I think it's a fantastic list. Post first wave pandemic, now we are able to come back to work, right? The county has opened up. We're able to come back to work. Um, what have you seen as some of the what have been your kind of early learnings now that you're back to work and seeing people?
I am so glad that I prepared financially for it and that I was able to get financial aid because I had everything prepped and ready to go. I was above ground, got all my paperwork, and I was like, yes! Like, I wasn't just paying taxes for nothing. Uh, so, I mean, I got some other good benefits, like being able to get the credit lines, being able to buy a car. But actually, in this pandemic, being able to stay home and feel safe and keep my clients safe, and then um, being able to just work when it's legal, that just brought me so much peace of mind.
Right, right. Yes, and that was another thing that happened. A lot of body workers had to go fly under the radar because
Yes.
they had no other means, right? And so a lot of body workers were, I guess, put themselves at risk,
Mm.
or their clients at risk, because they had to fly under the radar. There was no other way, you know. The- Um, but you were able to hold the fort down during this time.
Yeah, for me, it was I have a lot of elderly clients, so it was just giving both of us peace of mind to say, let's just wait until things are not circulating as much in the population, and we're doing great. SF County is doing great right now. And the other important thing I want to mention is ABMP, my practitioner insurance. They sent a letter. If you are working when your county is legally requiring you not to work, then it will void your insurance. I didn't want to take that risk. So it was so important for me to just feel okay financially. And the only way I was going to do that was with the financial aid. And I wanted to feel like my clients could trust me, that I wasn't going to do anything under the table or hidden. I don't want to practice that way.
Hmm. Hmm. Great, thank you. Um, what do you so we've got some great information listed out for practitioners, and if we wanted to give them some information for the future, we're still in this pandemic, right? It's not over. We're in, I would say, I haven't read it lately, but I don't know if we're in post first wave, or beginning of second wave, or in middle of second wave. I'm not sure where we're at right now. Actually, I've stopped reading on purpose, just for my mental health. Um, but what would you say to the practitioners, um, in order to empower them through this time? And who knows how long this time is going to be? It could be a year, it could be two. Um, if you could give them some type of, uh, um, you know, wisdom handed down, what would it be to these folks who actually kind of did stick around, did make it through? You know, they are able to kind of crawl out of the rubble, so to speak. What would you say? What would you say to them?
Pay your taxes, pay your estimated taxes. You could look that up on irs.gov, my favorite website. Um, Look for an SEP IRA, research that to offset your taxes so that you can keep some of your hard earned money and invest in yourself and watch that grow. And if you don't like numbers, it's okay. Save all your receipts and pass them off to a bookkeeper, or have somebody who enjoys the math to just put it in a spreadsheet for you.
Hmm.
I There's no way to avoid the discomfort with money. There's just no way, especially if you decide to work for yourself. But you try to outsource it. Ask for help.
Right, right. And that kind of brings me to something you mentioned, Jody, whom I know as well, and she's awesome. And you mentioned how she mentored you. But I would say that you, Rachel, would be an amazing mentor for people. You would be a fantastic mentor for people, because you've been through it, and you've got a great way of explaining things to people, uh, in, in in a way that kind of brings down walls, right? There is so much resistance to money, to talking about finances, to talking about how to become successful. There is a huge amount of resistance, and to me, it's actually quite sad. A few days ago, I just took a phone call from a practitioner who was telling me, uh, I need to. She was a practitioner who was telling me, I need to come see you for a session. And I said, "Oh, what's going on?" Here I was thinking that maybe she was tired from all the work that she had been doing, right? And instead, she told me um, that she stopped working. She's done. She is not going to be able to get back to work. And that was really sad to me because she, I believe, is a great body worker. I believe it does great work. And now we have, another one bites the dust. Someone who's got great skills, super talented, an artist, and cannot make it because of finances, because they can't figure out how to deal with finances. To me, it's sad.
I actually want to speak to that a little bit as well. I mean, that's it. This is as Marty mentioned earlier, I have been doing this marketing business and sort of going through this process of trying to figure out how to create the business and how to do so within the lines. And It brings up so much. There's like such a plethora of things that come up that are pretty much completely unrelated to the business, but affect the business on such a deep level, that have to do with things about my self worth, my ability, my being an adult. I mean, there's just so many different things from also just my frustration with the system to begin with, because I have a lot of personal disagreements with the way that things are and the way that things are run. Um, but at the same time, if I get caught up in that, I like or decide to check out from that altogether, that doesn't change the system and it also doesn't help me. So there's a lot that if anyone who is watching this is having a lot of feelings come up, which I have had a lot of feelings come up as we've been discussing this meeting, and as I'm even sitting here right now, like realizing how like what of those are things that I have the power to change, what are those that are false beliefs that I have about myself that are self-defeating, and how can I let those go and keep moving forward. Because getting caught up in that doesn't progress the business and also doesn't make change to the system that I'm resisting. I'm just resisting it in a bubble and affecting myself. So I think that this is, finances are a hard thing. It's about survival, right? So
Yeah.
you triggering some really deep things by confronting this. So I think is yes, it's sad, but also like give yourself compassion if you are struggling with this. And I think again, like the best piece of advice or the best place for me to start was literally just collecting receipts. And even when those receipts are just a
Yeah.
pile in the corner, like in an envelope that I can't organize and I don't know what to do with, like that was the first step of me just energetically trying to start doing this. And it did open things up. So for those of you out there that are feeling very lit up by this conversation, there's that's okay. Like it's very much okay. And I hear you that it's sad, but it's also not. It's very normal and okay.
Right, right, absolutely. I think you touched on this, Caroline. This is, I believe running your own business and and making it successful, like Rachel has, is about empowerment. It's not, yes, it's going to bring stuff up and it's going to bubble things up to the surface, but it really is about empowering you. To me, it has been a huge uh, uh, a huge growth for me. It's been like boot camp for my character. Um, so it has helped me build character, confidence. It is also when I talk to other people in business, it it has helped me realize I'm not the only one. And I used to talk about this a while back. I'll talk about it a little bit. When I first started my business, way back, I used to talk about this huge sense of of being alone, being the lone man in a canoe in the middle of the water, and and not really knowing where to reach out to, who to reach out to, having to learn so many of these things on my own. But as I progressed in my business, I would uh, meet other people in other businesses, and frankly, it's really other businesses, other lines, other industries that I have become friends with, and realizing that we have all gone through similar similar situations. We have all had to learn things in a certain way, right? And we have all had the same obstacles, the same hurdles to have to go over. And it wasn't just me. Oh, it's not just me who has gone through this. Everyone else has gone through almost very similar things. So not sure exactly where that was going, but uh, all of this has empowered me, right? And it's not to say I feel superhuman. I just feel like I can deal with it. And that was one of the things that happened to me during pandemic time. I thought I'm going to push through. You know, I feel like I've had to deal with so many other things that has not brought me down. I will deal with this, right? So to me, that was kind of what was going through my head mid March. Um, but going back to you, Rachel, one of the things we haven't talked about yet is, I mean, we have a few minutes for this. Um, we haven't talked about this kind of openly, and that is envisioning your future as a body worker, practitioner, self-employed. Um, can you speak on that a little bit? And what I mean is, in order to be successful, I believe you need to have some semblance of a plan. So um, I think that at this point, I'm assuming you have some semblance of a plan for your business future, right? And I want you to just kind of speak on that. How important is it as a body worker who's self-employed to really kind of have a vision of your future and plan accordingly?
Um, that's a very wide ranging question. Is there anything
Sorry.
specific you want me to direct my attention to?
Yes, finances specifically, and I guess structuring your business. I guess that would be a good avenue.
Sure, there are a couple of things. Um, if you want this to be financially feasible, well, since I do, I think paying my taxes has been rock solid in allowing that, and then paying into the retirement account that I was able to set up for myself. Yeah, that set me up for my future. And then for me, or for anybody who is like, they feel like it's not financially feasible, there might be uh, a conversation you need to have with yourself about raising your rates so that it does become financially feasible. So there's that. And then over time, transitioning into like an online only payment system. I mean, with the pandemic, we want to do like more touchless pay or things that people can take care of in advance so that they're not spending as much time in the room. So, moving your business with technology so that it's accessible for everybody. And it's not just like, I feel like cash only is limited that way, and that, people need to go to the ATM, then you need to collect that money, and then you need to put it, deposit it. And just taking out all those steps and moving towards like an online only payment system has been miraculous. It has
Hmm.
increased the profit margins.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, thank you so much. You touched on this thing that I don't know how many times we've done talks on this, Caroline. You know what I'm going to say.
Yep.
Um, Raising your rates is that's I think that's all I can say. That's all I can say. Raise your rates. At this point, those are probably the only three words that kind of can come out with regards to rates. So important. to start thinking about this now. Just go out there and look at how the prices for everything has gone up, with the potential for the city of San Francisco Department of Public Health, uh, with the potential of that department about to charge practitioners a fee for obtaining a permit. I don't know where we are with that, by the way, but with that potential, things are going to get more expensive for the practitioner, and I believe that that should reflect, that should reflect in the rates. I know that if we took a survey out there, we probably undercharge.
I wanted to add one thing, your comment about feeling sort of alone in this world. I had forgotten this, but my mother opened a bakery when I was younger for a little while. And when she did, one of the things that she and the other woman that owned it together with in our small town, they had a business club or something, small business club or something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I have not looked at anything like that here. But now with the internet being what it is, I can only imagine that it's everywhere. Like that you can find free ones, that you can find paid ones, that you can all kinds of different things for speaking with people and finding people that are in the same boat as you are and confronting the same struggles as you are and getting advice about what they're doing. It's not that you would take every piece of advice that you're given, but ideas of how to. Interestingly, I feel like a big part of what this talk is about is getting into the system to be able to work the system. And that sounds a little shady, and I don't mean it to be shady, but if you're not in the system, then you can't make the system work for you.
Right.
Is a better way to put it. I definitely don't mean to like be sneaky in the system, but there
Right.
are ways to make this system work in your favor.
Right.
It's not just a shelling out money for just in case later. There's the ability to get a line of credit, as we mentioned earlier. Just all these things that once you're in there, there are benefits that you can reap, but you can only reap them if you know how. And that, I think, is the real trick and the barrier that a lot of people come up against, is that they only know the things that they're required to do, which feels like just paying a lot of money. But
Right.
that can come back to you if you have some support system or some ability to learn how to use all the other facets of the system that aren't mandatory but are there for you.
Right. Right.
So I just, again, a note for those people that are feeling like they don't know where to start. Maybe it's as simple as joining a small business club and, you know, doing whatever monthly, weekly meeting they have to even just sit and listen. And that will be a piece of the moving the momentum in the right direction.
Right. Right. Um, I've said this so many times, and I've told during these type of talks, if anyone has a question offline, they can always contact me. And for all the times that I've done this over the past 17 years, only a handful of people have actually reached out. And of that handful, only a few are actually willing to do the work, you know, which is, I guess, what it is. But this is why I wanted to bring Rachel out, because she did it, and she did it on, and you're doing it on your own. You learned it, you figured it out uh, uh, on your own, and you asked the questions. And I think a lot of this um, is stemmed from your mindset, Rachel, of I need to make this work. How am I going to make this work? Right?
Yeah.
I need to figure this out. And I think that's step one. This changing your mindset to the point to that uh, to thinking in that direction.
I wanted to just bring up again what you said and what Caroline said. They're really eloquent, beautiful points you made. You talked about feeling alone, and Caroline talked about all of your own things about self-worth, and everything comes up. And for me, it was like, oh, get over yourself. I know it's kind of harsh, but that's what I had to tell myself. Like, get over yourself. You need to be in the system. You need to push forward with this. I honestly, I don't know how else say it, but that's what I did. Because
Well,
yeah, those feelings will inevitably come up.
right. Well, it sounds like you gave yourself some tough love in a sense,
Yeah.
and I know I kind of volunteered you as a mentor, but I think that would be great, for you to mentor people. But if you are open to it, then we can do that. But you're always welcome to contact me, and we can have a discussion. But that's it, folks. I think we've covered some really great ground, some really amazing uh, uh, knowledge. And I really want to thank you, Rachel, for taking your time to share with us your experience, um, share with us, what you've learned along the way. And I hope this helped everyone who's watching, and I hope it helps them to uh, uh, realize that they can also be successful in their practice. You have anything to say, Rachel?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. All righty. Caroline, anything you wanted to add?
I'm all good.
All righty. All righty, folks. Well, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you guys soon.